Hello and welcome back everybody. It's Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. In today's story, OP says, "My wife has been seeing another man over a year and she doesn't know that I know. My wife and I have been married since 2010. In our circle of friends, we have been described as the happy couple. Our friends always saw me as a good husband and her as a good wife. I honestly never took her as someone that would cheat on me. She had always been in control of her emotions. When we got together, she had fooled around a lot in her 20s and said that she's over that scene. My first clue of her new man was about 8 months ago. I ended up discovering that she has started taking birth control. Now, the reason why this was so strange was because she pretty much told me that the only way that she's going to sleep with me unprotected was if I was to get snipped. So, now seeing this really threw me off. However, she said that it was to reduce her cramping. Also, I noticed that she tries to avoid me every time I try to initiate. We used to do it twice a week, one during the week and usually once during the weekend. However, now during the week, she would constantly be too tired. I ended up finally figuring it out when I tried to recover her old iPad. There, her Apple ID was signed in and I started reading through the messages. It was really depressing. My wife was talking to him about how great he was, how he loosened her hips for the whole week. Throughout the day, they would have chats about what they were going to do to each other and would send him photos of herself to him. She would even tell him stuff like, "Oh God, my husband wanted to make love to me again, haha." It also turns out that the reason that she got on birth control was because she could do it unprotected with this guy. Honestly, I don't know what to do from here. I always loved her and I thought that I would be with her forever, and now this pretty much destroyed me. When my wife and I got together, she always told me that she is not much into being physically active in bed and that she had only done it in the past to get the guys to love her and never because she enjoyed it. But looking at her relationship with this guy, it seems to be exactly the opposite. For Valentine's Day, I ended up buying her this lingerie, and when she tried it on, she told me that she felt silly wearing it, yet I found her texting this guy with pictures of it. It feels like this guy had got to see a part of her that in the 7 years we have been together, I have never seen. I haven't talked to her about this, and honestly, I don't know what to do. As stupid as this all sounds, a part of me wants to stay and another part of me hates her. I don't know how to confront her about this. End of part 1. If you are enjoying the story so far, please give a thumbs up. Thanks. And now, here is the update. I decided to talk to my boss about my situation. He has gone through a bad divorce and I always viewed him as a mentor. He recommended me this lawyer and told me that not to worry about work. He wants me to come out of this all in one piece. I called and scheduled a meeting with his lawyer and the guy went out of his way to help me out. I brought him the iPad and the other proof I had. He made copies, but it didn't matter because our state does not care about infidelity when it comes to divorce. Yet, he still wanted it. He told me that it would be ideal for me to move out since we are going to likely sell the house and he doesn't want there to be any conflict between me and her. I went home and had a discussion with my wife. Up until this point, she had no idea that I knew or was going through divorce procedures. I told her that I want a divorce and I knew about the whole thing. Throughout the time there was a lot of crying, a lot of tears. She kept asking me how did I know and what did I know. I told her that I knew enough to know that I did not want her to be my wife anymore. I told her we are done. She did not let go of me. She told me that the guy was a mistake, that he did not mean anything. She told me that she was bored and wanted some fun on the side and she can show me text messages that would show that she had no plans of leaving me. She said at the end, the most important thing was she would always choose me. I started to get angry and I started quoting some of the things she said to the other guy. Since then, I have been going back to pick my stuff up. My wife tried doing many things to show that she still wants me and once even wore the lingerie I got her that she wore with her lover. I did not bother telling her I knew about what she did. I just got the rest of my stuff and got out. Throughout the whole process, my parents and my boss have been great. My mom started telling me not to worry, that she would find me a nice girl from my native country and she will start her matchmaking. Right now, I'm not trying to look for another girl. I just want this divorce to end. I generally have bad anxiety and I found the whole divorce process has really taken a toll on me. I just want this to be over. We haven't been married for that long and we don't have children, so I don't think alimony will even be considered. We are getting a divorce. End of story number 1. We have another story coming up next. Please give a thumbs up if you are enjoying the video so far. The second story is titled, My husband knows about what's going on with me and my co-worker but hasn't told me. What can I do? My husband and I met when I was right out of college. He swept me off my feet and from our first date it was magic. We married 3 years later and now we have an 8-year-old daughter. We both work pretty great jobs and between caring for our daughter and the work responsibility, we are both busy people. But he always made time for me and treated me like royalty even when I did not do the same. Around the beginning of 2019, I became familiar with one of my co-workers, Nick. Nick and I started so innocent. We would go out to work outings together and sit close by and talk. I started sitting in his lap and we had some light touching, but nothing too severe. I guess he reminded me of when my husband and I were young. There was a passion in Nick's eyes that drew me close to him. Eventually, it got physical. I knew during the whole time it was wrong, but I pushed through, never once thinking about the impact it could have on my husband. This morning started off as usual. My husband gets into the shower before me every day. He told me last night that he was going to stop by Costco on the way home from work today, so I grabbed his phone to add a few things that I wanted. I know his iPhone password, so I went into the Notes app to add what I wanted, but when I opened the app, it opened a folder with dates listed on it. The dates started the first week of March and continued until last week. I curiously opened one of the dates and to my shock, it was a diary. I never knew my husband as the type of person to write his thoughts and emotions. I read through the first couple of entries and it broke my heart. The diary was all about my infidelity and how my husband was processing it. He had discovered my affair about a month after it became physical. I quickly locked his phone and hid it. When he came out of the shower, I helped him look for the phone I hid. My husband has a work phone and a personal phone, so he was unfazed about not being able to find it. He was on a time crunch and left only with his work phone. I called off work and read each diary entry. I feel like I may vomit. Almost each entry for the first 3 months, he planned on making her fall in love with me again. He had detailed in this diary the plans he had to make me forget about Nick. He had talked about taking us on a week-long vacation so I couldn't see him, how he brought my favorite flowers and cooked my favorite dish, but I continued to see Nick. As time went on and I continued to lie to my husband that he would write in the diary about how his resolve beginning to waver, how he's becoming depressed and feels so lonely and unloved. After 3 months, the diary entries became about his depression and how he cries every time he knows I'm with Nick. He writes how every night before falling asleep he has visuals of Nick with me and how the visuals make him feel physically ill. He keeps writing in his diary how he doesn't want our daughter to grow up with divorced parents like he did. There is a diary entry from 1 month ago that stopped me in my tracks though. In the entry, my husband talks about how one night when I was with Nick and he put our daughter to bed, he was crying to himself as usual, but the tears stopped flowing. He says that his body finally stopped producing tears for his failed marriage. He says this night was the night the band-aid fully came off. In the entry, he talks about how this half-a-year-long process felt like a band-aid on his soul that was slowly being pulled off, and how now the band-aid was finally off. He felt like a wave of relief, like he finally got over me. 2 weeks ago, he had another diary entry. In this one, he talks about how he wants to arrange to meet a girl for a night. He writes he doesn't know how to start this, but to have relations with someone other than his wife will be an interesting experience. My husband knows my schedule with Nick. He has planned on meeting this girl sometime that I'm with Nick. I don't know what to do at this point. I'm at such a loss. I'm so ashamed. The whole time, I kept telling myself that no one was getting hurt and this affair would run its course and life would go back to normal. I never realized the pain and the suffering I put my husband through. I have betrayed him so many times and he suffered through it. What can I do now? I am never going to see Nick again, but it's probably too late to have this realization for me. Where do I go? What can I do? I know many of you will say some horrible things about me, and that's okay, but please help me save the marriage I ruined. Edit. I plan on telling my husband everything, even if he knows it already. I don't want my daughter to grow up in a broken house. I can only imagine the hurt and pain Nick's wife and the kids are experiencing. I will have to chat with her too. I feel revolted that I was with him at all now. Knowing my husband wants to meet someone else is killing me, and it's giving me a peek into what he was going through all this time. I hope I can find a way to salvage the wreck I have caused. I still believe that there is a silver line of hope for us, and I will continue fighting for our marriage, and maybe one day he can forgive me. I'm hoping he will be willing to save our marriage, but considering what I have been put him through, I'm going to let him decide the terms of our future. I tried to have a conversation with myself to figure out why I did it. I will most likely seek counseling to discover the root cause of my behavior. Well, OP, since you have not given us an update yet, let me give you some advice. You need to tell your husband immediately, and whatever he wants you to do, do it. It'll most likely be divorce, but you don't have the right to question his decision at this time. No arguments, just say yes. I really think that you should admit to what you have done to Nick's wife as well. She has the right to make a similar decision for herself and for her children. I hope you will do the right thing. Please like, comment and share the story if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.